Asalton Pani Snuneymuxw. I'd Mishwala and Quanas EFE. I'd Mishwala and Quanas EFE. I'd Sevka Siamastimo. Dear friends and relatives, it's a great honor to stand here as the Chief of Snuneymuxw. My name is Doug White. My co-Salish name is Paul Asalton. My good friend Michelle Corfield asked for the Snuneymuxw to participate in a discussion tonight about something that's very dear and precious to us as Snuneymuxw people. I'm not sure if she quite expected the response that she would get. I want to thank my elders and my people that are here tonight to show to everyone, the federal government in particular, the deep concern that we have about the patterns of behavior, about the decisions being made about Snuneymuxw territory. The place that we're gathered in right now, this space, is called Corfield, one of the ancient village sites of the Snuneymuxw people. In this village site in the 1850s, our people came to an important understanding with the Crown. An understanding that was premised on some important principles. Respect and recognition. An understanding that was premised on a simple idea, that we matter to each other. The indigenous peoples of this part of the world and the settlers, the new people that have come to be in this part of the world, we matter to each other, and we have to have a clear way of understanding how we're going to live together. I want to share with you some quick stories before I have to leave to go to Ottawa, to contribute to the work taking place out there in relation to advocacy and trying to shift in a transformative way the relations between the Crown and all Indigenous peoples across the country. Sometime in May of this year, I had a visit from an American company. I understood that American company was doing a little bit of work on a dock, trying to figure out why they were coming to my office to meet with me. You can imagine my shock when this representative disclosed to me that in the following day, the Port Authority and his company would be announcing to the public that the Port Authority is handing over the inner harbor of Nanaimo to this American company for the next 2 generations. I almost fell off of my chair in my office. I've heard some crazy things in my time. Not quite as shocking and as crazy as this. Deeply inconsistent with the treaty relationship that the Snuneymuxw are in with the Crown, the federal government. Deeply inconsistent with the understandings we've been seeking to build with the Port Authority over the past few years. Shocking disrespect. I stood up then, and our people are standing up now to make clear that that does not work for our people. Corfield was recognized in 1854 as the Aboriginal title lands of the Snuneymuxw people. The fisheries were recognized as part of our Aboriginal title, the rights to our fisheries that this harbor consists of. The Port Authority, over generations, the Nanaimo Harbour Commission before it, and federal decisions before it, have significantly impacted on the way of life of my people. The original promise, the original recognition of the Aboriginal title to Corfield and the fisheries has been disrespected and denied for much of the last 100 and almost 60 years now. What the Port Authority is saying today is that they want to repeat that behavior, but not just in relation to Snuneymuxw, but in relation to all of the people that live in Snuneymuxw territory and use that harbor for many different reasons. Whether it's commercial fishing, whether you're Protection Islanders that live on Protection Island and use that marina to get to your homes. How many Protection Islanders are here tonight? How many commercial fishermen are here tonight? How many concerned citizens are here tonight? stand over at the conference center in the fall to talk to the AGM of the Council of Canadians, and the simple basic message I shared with them was that the treaty rights of the Snuneymuxw and the Aboriginal rights and title of other Indigenous peoples across this country are potentially a bastion of hope for all Canadians in protecting Canadian values. Because Harper's agenda, in my estimation, does not reflect Canadian values. His wholesale approach of seeking to hand over the resources of Canada to other countries at the expense of Canadians is not acceptable. He's been working very hard to achieve that in a number of ways, and we saw over the last number of years in his minority government some tentative steps, but since he's had a majority government, we've seen his strident steps towards achieving the objectives that him and his party have. We saw in the first instance Bill C-38 in the spring, this remarkable step of gutting the Fisheries Act. Absolutely gutting the Fisheries Act and removing protections over fisheries and fish habitat. Buried disgracefully in the middle of a budget implementation bill. There's no place in this country, in this democracy, in this parliamentary system for such major decisions in relation to such important laws that protect things like fisheries to be dealt with in the context of a budget implementation omnibus bill. What a disgrace and a shame. More even than what he did with the Fisheries Act in Bill C-38 in that budget implementation omnibus bill, he completely tore to its foundations. He then dug up the foundations and utterly and completely destroyed the Canadian Environmental Assessment Act and replaced it with something that's a shadow, that's a disgraceful glimmer of what the Canadian Environmental Assessment Act originally was. A piece of legislation that was built by Canadians over generations to protect Canadian values and Canadian environment. Tore it to its foundation, and when he did that, about 3,000 environmental assessments across this country died. And then what we heard from the Port Authority was that this project of replacing the marina with a marina for super yachts and mega yachts for the mega rich and handing it over to the Americans no longer had to be dealt with under the Canadian Environmental Assessment Act because of Harper's agenda. Treason! Following up from that, in Bill C-45, just in the fall, there was further disgraceful steps taken to fulfill Harper's agenda. Primarily, in our instance, in relation to this marina, for the Navigable Waters Protection Act. I want everyone to know that before this fall, before the Bill C-45 received royal assent in December, the middle of December of this year, that every navigable water from coast to coast in this country was protected by federal legislation and law. And I want you to know that the impact of the way that he tore apart that important piece of federal legislation completely decimates any of its meaning. Today, it's important for everyone that lives on this island and lives around the Salish Sea to understand that there is not one single body of water, not one river, not one lake on Vancouver Island that is part of the new Navigable Waters Protection Act. Not one. Not a single lake, not a single river has that same federal legislative protection. It's shocking. In fact, across the country, out of the tens of thousands of bodies of water, there's now less than 100 that this government has deemed to be important enough to protect under federal legislation. What a disgrace to the waters that support our way of life and our communities and our peoples. An absolute disgrace. So we're faced with today this remarkable situation. I spoke in the fall of the opportunity for Canadians to work with Aboriginal peoples to protect their way of life, to use our rights, to protect what's important and cherished by you. And I think tonight's meeting, in very short order, has demonstrated the reality of that fact, that some of the strongest legal rights we have left to defend these important public spaces that serve the needs of everyone in this room are the Aboriginal and the treaty rights of the Snuneymuxw people. I want everyone here to know that the Snuneymuxw people stand here in the same way our ancestors did 160 years ago, which is to say we acknowledge that we matter to each other. We acknowledge that simple fact that we've got to find ways, new patterns of behavior, new forms of relationship that uphold that central principle that we matter to each other. Nobody's going anywhere. We're all in this together. And in this instance, if we stand together in the way that we are tonight, we can seek to protect those things that are important to us. So we are here. We are here in that spirit. Later tonight, I've got to go to the airport to fly to Ottawa to contribute to the ongoing development of an approach for the meeting with the Prime Minister on Friday that reflects and supports this standing up. And so I want to say something. I want to say how beautiful it is to me as a chief of the Snuneymuxw First Nation to see Aboriginal people standing up. We have Aboriginal peoples here tonight from the west coast of Chano, Sashat's here, Cayucans here. We've got people from Liaxin, from Snuneymuxw, other nations all standing with us together. The indigenous peoples of this country will not sit down until the relationship is reframed. We will not sit down until we know that the future of our children and our grandchildren will be different than the reality that we have faced of grinding poverty and exclusion and denial of our rights and our title, denial of our treaty rights. This country is one of the most beautiful on the face of the earth, second largest country on the face of the earth. It's a rich, rich place with room for all of us to have fulfilled lives of wealth, recognition, respect, and dignity. And that's why these people are here with you tonight, to stand with you, to uphold that beautiful idea of creating together a better country, a better province, a better city. Most importantly, a better harbor that belongs to all of us and meets all of our needs. Stating my deepest gratitude and thanks on behalf of the Snuneymuxw First Nation for this opportunity to be here. Thank again my people, my elders, our relations from across the island for standing with us. I apologize deeply that I have to go, but there's a number of members of the Snuneymuxw Council here. Councillor Bill Yoakum, Councillor Doug White, Councillor Emmy Manson, Councillor Sandy Good, and maybe a couple of others that I haven't seen here tonight, but they're here to continue on with you in the important discussion taking place tonight. So with that, wish you all a good evening. Thank the Quaggy for being here, the hereditary chiefs of the Quaggy that have joined us, Owadi, Chief Williams, and the other hereditary chief that are here tonight. It's a great honor and a pleasure to stand with you all. Holds us up, gives us strength, is medicine for us, clears a pathway, illuminates the path that we have to be on all together. With that, Hayat Sevka, Siam Thank you.